Mindset is the foundation of how we experience life and the results we get every day. It shapes the way we handle challenges, make decisions, and move toward our goals. Changing your mindset isn't about sudden breakthroughs or magic fixes. It's about learning how to think clearly, act with purpose, and build habits that support your growth, even when things get tough. This summary breaks down powerful ideas that anyone can use, no matter where you are in life. You'll discover practical steps to improve your thoughts, build discipline, and handle obstacles with calm strength. These aren't just ideas to think about, they are tools to apply in your daily routine, helping you take control and make real progress. As you read through this, you'll find motivation to push forward and simple actions that build confidence and resilience over time. The path to success is often quiet and steady, not flashy or fast, but every small step adds up. This is about learning to choose your thoughts, face discomfort with courage, and keep promises to yourself that create lasting change. If you want to understand how your mindset shapes your life and how you can change it to work for you, this summary is a clear guide to getting started. It's about taking control, moving forward, and growing stronger every day. Keep reading, and you'll find the encouragement and practical advice needed to make that happen. Chapter 1. Build daily discipline by mastering small, consistent actions. Discipline is not something you are born with. It is something you build, one action at a time. The people who seem unstoppable, focused, calm, and strong are not special. They are simply committed to mastering small, consistent actions every single day. They don't chase motivation. They don't wait for the perfect time. They wake up, take action, and move forward regardless of how they feel. This is what separates those who keep changing their goals from those who keep changing their lives. And it all starts with building daily discipline by doing the small things well without excuse and without delay. You do not need to change everything overnight. You do not need to become a different person tomorrow. What you need is to choose one small thing you will do today and do it with intention. That is how all transformation begins. Small steps, quiet efforts, private wins. These are the seeds of powerful change. But here is the truth. Most people ignore. Small actions are easy to do, but they are also easy to avoid. That is why discipline matters more than anything else. When you build discipline, you stop negotiating with your feelings. You stop giving your excuses more power than your goals. You stop living at the mercy of your mood. You start living on purpose. Discipline means you do what you said you would do, even when you are tired, distracted, or discouraged. It means you keep your word to yourself. It means you build trust with the only person who can change your life. The most successful people in any area, health, business, relationships, mindset, are not always the most talented. They are the most disciplined. They understand that consistency beats intensity, that daily action matters more than occasional effort, that showing up every day is more powerful than showing off once in a while. The reason small, consistent actions matter is because they remove the pressure of perfection. You are not expected to be great today. You are expected to be consistent. That's it. Just show up. Just move forward. Just do the thing you committed to doing, even if it's only for 5 minutes. One healthy meal, one honest conversation, one workout, one page read, one journal entry, one moment of stillness, one act of kindness. Over time, these small things create momentum, identity, and strength. They remind you that you are not stuck, you are in control, you are moving, and that changes everything. It is not about how much you do. It is about how often you do it. You don't need a life overhaul. You need a daily system. A system that you can repeat no matter what life throws at you. A system that is simple, clear, and aligned with the person you want to become. A system built on actions, not intentions. Too many people stay stuck in the planning phase. They think about change. They talk about change. They dream about change, but they never commit to the action that leads to change. That is why small, consistent action is the key. It removes the need for willpower. It builds momentum. And most importantly, it trains your mind to follow through instead of overthink. When you commit to daily discipline, you stop reacting to life and start creating it. You wake up with purpose. You stop waiting to feel ready. You stop chasing motivation and start building self-respect. You show yourself that you are capable of doing what matters, even when it is hard, boring, or inconvenient. This is how you build a mindset that is focused, strong, and steady. This is how you start making decisions based on your future, not your feelings. This is how you become a person who keeps moving forward no matter what. Most people don't fail because they lack talent or opportunity. They fail because they lack consistency. They start strong, but they don't stay strong. They set goals, but they don't create habits. They want change, but they don't commit to the process of change. But you are not most people. You can choose to become someone who values progress more than perfection. You can choose to take one step every single day, even when you don't feel like it. That one step is where discipline is built. That one step is where self-trust is created. That one step is where transformation begins. Discipline is also about saying no. No to distractions. No to delays. No to excuses. No to the part of you that wants comfort more than growth. Every time you say no to what doesn't matter, you make room for what does. You sharpen your focus. You protect your time. You honor your purpose. And over time you become the kind of person who does not depend on external pressure to take action. You create internal standards. You develop a strong relationship with effort. You stop needing motivation because you have direction. Direction is powerful. It tells your mind where to go. It reminds you of what matters. It helps you make better choices throughout the day. Without direction, your day is random. Your actions are reactive. Your habits are inconsistent. But with direction, you wake up knowing exactly what to do and why it matters. And that clarity fuels your discipline. You no longer waste time guessing or hoping. You act. You move. You build. And the more you build, the stronger you become. Strength is not built in comfort. It is built in discipline. It is built in moments when you don't want to do the work but do it anyway. It is built when you push through resistance and keep going. Every time you honor your commitments, you grow. Every time you do the right thing when it's hard, you evolve. Every time you show up consistently, you increase your power. Not the kind of power that shows off. The kind of power that is calm, steady, and unshakable. Your mind will resist discipline at first. It will tell you that it's too hard, that you can do it tomorrow, that it won't make a difference, but you must ignore that voice. That voice wants comfort. You want change. And change always requires effort. Discipline is the price you pay for freedom. Freedom to live life on your terms. Freedom to become who you were meant to be. Freedom to build something meaningful. That freedom is earned through daily effort. Not once, not when it's easy. Every single day. Start small. Pick one habit that aligns with the life you want. Make it so simple that you can't fail. Don't aim for perfection. Aim for consistency. You don't need to wake up at 5 a.m. Run 10 miles and write a book on day one. You need to pick one action and do it every day for the next 30 days. That's how you build momentum. That's how you shift your identity. That's how you become the kind of person who follows through. And when you miss a day, which will happen, don't quit. Don't beat yourself up. Don't throw away all your progress. Get back on track. That's the real test of discipline, not how perfectly you perform, but how quickly you recover. People with strong discipline don't always get it right, but they always return to what matters. They don't let one bad day become a bad week. They forgive themselves and start again. That's how they win. Daily discipline is not punishment. It is self-respect in action. It is how you honor your goals. It is how you protect your future. It is how you take control of your life. When you live with discipline, you don't need to rely on luck or chance. You become consistent, reliable, focused, grounded. You don't leave your growth up to the world. You create it. And it's not just about goals. Discipline affects how you talk to yourself, how you show up in relationships, how you manage your emotions, how you respond to stress. Every part of your life improves when you become more disciplined. You start to think differently. You start to feel stronger. You start to live with clarity. You stop avoiding discomfort and start using it. You stop hiding behind potential and start living with purpose. You do not need to have it all figured out. You just need to start. Start with one thing, one habit, one small action you can repeat daily. Then protect that habit like it matters, because it does. That small habit will become your anchor. On the days when everything feels chaotic, your habit will give you direction. On the days when your mind is full of doubt, your habit will remind you that you can still move forward. On the days when you feel lost, your habit will bring you back to center. That is the power of discipline. It keeps you going when everything else says stop. There will be moments when no one is watching, no one is cheering, no one is validating your effort. Those are the most important moments. That is when you build character. That is when you prove to yourself that you are serious. Anyone can be disciplined when it's easy. But true discipline is built when it's not. When you are tired, when you are uninspired, when you are uncertain. If you can stay consistent in those moments, you can handle anything life throws your way. Your future is not built in big decisions. It is built in small daily actions. Wake up and move. Show up and try. Fall down and stand again. This is what creates confidence, not words. Not wishes, not waiting, action, honest effort, quiet progress. This is how you become the person you want to be, not someday, but today, not all at once, but little by little, not with pressure, but with purpose. So commit to this one small consistent action each day. It does not need to be impressive. It just needs to be done. Over time, your discipline will grow. Your mind will strengthen, your confidence will rise, you will begin to trust yourself again, you will begin to feel proud of your choices, you will begin to feel like you are in control, because you are. Every small act of discipline is proof that you are not powerless, you are building something, you are becoming someone, and you are doing it one small action at a time. Chapter 2. Train your thoughts to focus only on progress. Progress begins in the mind, long before it shows up in results. Every thought you allow, every idea you entertain, and every belief you accept shapes your direction. If your thoughts are focused on limitations, you'll shrink your behavior to match. If your thoughts are centered on growth, you'll take actions that pull you forward, even when they're uncomfortable. You can't make lasting progress while feeding your mind with doubt, regret, or fear. What you think about consistently becomes the filter through which you see the world, and more importantly, yourself. That's why your thoughts must be trained, shaped, and guarded as carefully as anything else in your life. Most people live in a loop of self-judgment. They focus on how far they are from the finish line instead of how far they've come. They replay old mistakes, rehearse imagined failures, and constantly compare their current state to an ideal version of success they haven't yet reached. This mindset weakens them. It steals their energy, slows their progress, and convinces them that they're not improving, even when they are. You must break that loop. Progress is not a destination, it is a direction. You don't need to be perfect. You need to keep moving. If your thoughts are focused on forward motion, on what you can do, improve, or try, you will continue to grow, even through difficulty. You are not your past. You are not your mistakes. You are not your doubts. You are what you choose to think about and act on today. The mind will often pull you backward, remind you of what didn't work, tempt you to give up before you try again. This is not a sign to stop. It is a sign to train. Just as your body adapts to physical exercise, your thoughts adapt to your attention. The more you practice redirecting your mind to progress, the more naturally it happens, but don't expect it to feel automatic at first. This is a mental discipline. You are not here to drift. You are here to direct. You must stop measuring yourself by how fast you're going and start paying attention to the fact that you're still going. Every effort counts. Every step forward matters. You may not be where you want to be yet, but you're not where you used to be. That's progress. When you focus on progress, you stop comparing your timeline to anyone else's. You stop chasing quick wins. You start appreciating the process. You begin to feel more calm and grounded because you no longer need every day to be perfect. You just need it to matter. Progress-focused thinking is built on curiosity, not judgment. It means asking questions that move you forward. What did I learn from this? What can I try next? What's one small thing I can improve today? These questions open your mind and give you back your power. When you ask them consistently, your mindset shifts. You no longer see obstacles as reasons to quit. You see them as signals for adjustment. You become less reactive, more thoughtful, and more strategic. This is how forward thinkers operate. They are not obsessed with control. They are committed to learning. They move with humility and clarity, knowing that growth happens step by step, not all at once. When your mind starts drifting into fear, comparison, or frustration, that is your cue to pause. Don't let those thoughts run on autopilot. Stop and realign. Ask yourself if this thought helps you grow or keeps you stuck. If it keeps you stuck, replace it. This doesn't mean you lie to yourself or deny challenges. It means you tell yourself the full truth, including what you're capable of doing next. Progress thinking isn't blind positivity. It's grounded belief in the fact that change is possible, and it starts with your focus. Every day you make a choice. Will you spend your mental energy on what's missing or on what's moving? That choice shapes your entire experience. Even in difficult seasons, you can focus on what is within your control. You can choose to notice how much you've grown, how resilient you've become, how much better you handle setbacks now compared to the past. That is real progress. When you train your thoughts to stay there, to acknowledge, reflect, and adjust, you stay engaged with your journey instead of resenting it. Progress doesn't always look impressive. Sometimes it's just showing up. Sometimes it's choosing patience. Sometimes it's saying no to something that would have derailed you in the past. It may not look like much on the outside, but inside you are shifting, you are strengthening, you are sharpening your mind to think in a way that lifts you, not limits you. And the more you practice that mental shift, the more natural it becomes. This is what builds inner peace and quiet confidence. You stop overthinking every choice and start moving with direction. Your thoughts are not fixed. They are not facts. They are patterns, and patterns can be rewritten. Start by noticing the stories you tell yourself. When something goes wrong, do you tell yourself it's over or that it's a lesson? When something is hard, do you see it as a sign you're not ready or as a step that's supposed to stretch you? These choices seem small, but they add up. Each one moves you forward or holds you back. You can't always control what happens, but you can control the frame you use to interpret it. That frame shapes your focus, and your focus shapes your actions. A powerful mindset isn't built in easy times. It's built when you train your thoughts to stay on track, even when you feel tired, disappointed, or uncertain. Most people fall into the trap of all or nothing thinking. If they can't do something perfectly, they do nothing. If they're not moving fast, they assume they're not moving at all. This thinking leads to burnout, resentment, and quitting. But when your thoughts are trained for progress, you celebrate movement in any form. You keep going. You stay consistent. You become someone who doesn't need conditions to be ideal in order to grow. Focusing on progress also protects your self-worth. You no longer need validation to keep going. You don't need to prove yourself to anyone. You don't need your results to look a certain way in order to feel proud. You become more self-directed. You keep promises to yourself because you believe in the long game. You don't waste time worrying about opinions or distractions. You get better at filtering out what doesn't matter and locking in on what does. That kind of focus turns effort into results faster than talent ever could. Train your thoughts the way an athlete trains their body, with repetition, structure, and purpose. Feed your mind with ideas that support growth. Read things that challenge you to improve. Surround yourself with people who speak the language of progress. Remove things that drain you mentally. Give your focus somewhere meaningful to go each day. Your attention is your most valuable asset. Where it goes, your energy flows. And where your energy flows, your life follows. No one is born with a mind that naturally focuses on progress. It's a skill, a choice, a way of thinking that must be built and protected daily. There will always be distractions, setbacks, and reasons to give up, but there will also always be a reason to move forward. Find it, hold on to it, let it guide the way you think, speak, and act. When your thoughts serve your direction, your life begins to align, and from that place, progress is not just possible, it becomes inevitable. Chapter 3. Change negative beliefs by choosing new honest truths. Most people live under beliefs they never chose. They accepted ideas about themselves from parents, teachers, past experiences, or society. And now those beliefs shape how they think, feel, and act. These beliefs live quietly in the background, guiding every decision without question. The reason most people stay stuck is not because they are lazy or incapable, but because they are living by beliefs that limit them. Beliefs like I'm not good enough, I always mess things up, people don't respect me, or I never follow through. These are not facts. These are old mental scripts, often formed during painful moments that have never been challenged or rewritten. If you want to live differently, you must start by thinking differently. And to think differently, you must believe differently. Changing a belief does not require shouting affirmations or pretending everything is fine. It requires honesty. It requires sitting with the beliefs you've been carrying and asking if they are still true, or if they were never true to begin with. A belief is simply a repeated thought, one you've given authority over time. When you recognize this, you take your power back. You realize you can decide what you believe. You realize you don't have to live by the stories that were handed to you. You can choose new truths, ones that are aligned with who you are now and who you want to become. Start by observing your inner dialogue. Listen carefully to how you speak to yourself, especially during failure, stress, or uncertainty. What do you say in those moments? Do you speak with compassion and direction, or with judgment and fear? The words you use reflect the beliefs you hold. If your mind quickly jumps to worst-case outcomes, constant self-blame, or a deep sense of not being enough, that is evidence of a belief system rooted in doubt. And it won't change until you step in and rebuild it. Not with fake positivity, but with real clarity. An honest truth is not just something that sounds nice. It's something that is both supportive and believable. If you've been believing for years that you're not worthy of success, you won't immediately jump to believing you're destined for greatness. That jump is too far. Instead, choose a new thought that is true and strong enough to hold on to. Something like I am capable of learning what I need, or I have overcome hard things before, and I can again. These may seem simple, but they are powerful. They create a mental shift. They make you see yourself with more possibility, and the more you repeat them, the more they take root. Every time you replace an old belief with an honest new one, you make space for growth. You stop living in reaction to the past and start acting in alignment with your present values. This is how self-respect is built, not by ignoring flaws, but by deciding that your past does not define your future. Many people hold on to limiting beliefs because they confuse them with identity. If you've believed for years that you're undisciplined, part of you will cling to that belief even when you try to change. Why? Because it feels familiar. It feels safe. It keeps expectations low, but safety and growth rarely live in the same space. To grow, you must risk discomfort. You must risk believing something new about yourself, even when you don't have all the proof yet. Beliefs change through evidence. So if you want to believe you're strong, start acting like someone who protects their peace. If you want to believe you're focused, create an environment where distractions are reduced and priorities are clear. If you want to believe you are worthy of love, treat yourself with the care you hope to receive. Over time, your brain will catch up to these new actions and start reinforcing new beliefs. That's how internal change becomes external change. You are not trying to fake a new mindset. You are creating one step by step. Old beliefs lose power when they are challenged with truth. Not just emotional truth, but practical, observable truth. Maybe you believed you were bad at relationships because one connection failed, but that one situation does not define your entire capacity to grow and connect. Maybe you believed you were a failure because you lost motivation during a hard season. That's not failure, that's human experience. New honest truths start with understanding. You give yourself permission to question what you've been carrying and see it through a clearer lens. From there you choose what stays and what goes. There is no instant transformation. Your current beliefs were built over years. They were built through repetition, emotion, and reinforcement. So your new beliefs must be built the same way. You must practice them, speak them, write them, live them, not once, but over and over, until they start to feel natural, until they become your default thoughts. That is how you reshape your inner world. That is how you stop reacting to the same patterns and start creating new ones. Change starts with the decision to become more conscious, to stop letting negative beliefs run without resistance, to become someone who watches their mind and guides it like a leader. That takes effort, especially in the beginning. It feels easier to let your thoughts spiral. It feels easier to stay in blame or helplessness. But easy will not give you freedom. Ownership will, and ownership starts with what you believe. Every honest truth you claim is a step away from the beliefs that kept you small. You do not need to know how everything will unfold. You only need to know what you will no longer tolerate in your thinking. You no longer tolerate the lie that says you are always behind. You no longer accept the belief that you can't improve. You no longer live under the story that says you are broken. Instead, you choose new truths. Truths like I can change without rushing. I can grow at my own pace. I can rebuild who I am through daily decisions. These are not motivational quotes. These are mental foundations. They give your mind direction. They keep you grounded during setbacks. They keep you steady when emotions rise. This is what real strength looks like: calm, clear, and chosen. The most powerful change happens when you stop asking for permission to believe in yourself, when you stop waiting for external approval, when you stop needing your past to make sense before you take a new step. You do not need to explain your growth to anyone. You do not need to apologize for letting go of ideas that no longer serve you. Your mind belongs to you, and what you believe about yourself will determine how far you go. Every day is a new chance to decide how you see yourself. If you've been carrying a belief that drains your energy, now is the time to set it down, not because it's wrong, but because it no longer serves the person you're becoming. Replace it with a truth that gives you strength, one that reflects your potential, your effort, your heart. Build that truth with your actions. Reinforce it with your habits. Let it shape your choices, and in time you will not just think differently, you will live differently. Chapter 4. Strengthen your mindset by doing hard things daily. Most people want to grow but avoid the very process that creates growth. They want to be mentally strong but resist the discomfort that strength requires. They want confidence without effort, clarity without struggle, and progress without resistance. But a strong mindset is not something you are given, it is something you earn. You earn it through choice, through consistent action in the face of difficulty, through doing the things you don't want to do simply because you know they're necessary. Strength of mind is not developed during easy days, it is forged when you show up for the hard things, especially when nobody is watching. Your mind becomes sharp when you stop backing away from what challenges you. You become focused when you stop running from what makes you uncomfortable. Every time you face something difficult and follow through, you prove to yourself that you can handle life. And the more often you do this, the less power fear has over you. You stop waiting for the perfect mood or perfect conditions. You learn to rely on discipline, not emotion. You stop saying "I'll do it later" and start saying "I'll do it now," even if I'm tired, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it feels impossible. Doing hard things doesn't mean forcing yourself into chaos or pain for no reason. It means choosing the harder path when you know it leads to growth. It means setting your alarm early when you'd rather sleep. It means turning off distractions and doing deep work. It means saying no to what is easy and yes to what matters. Hard things are rarely dramatic. Most of the time they are quiet decisions made in ordinary moments. They look like showing up again and again, even when you don't see immediate results. They look like having uncomfortable conversations instead of avoiding them. They look like holding your standards when it would be easier to lower them. The reason this matters so deeply is because every hard thing you do sends a message to your mind. It tells you who you are. It reinforces your identity. When you avoid what's hard, your brain learns to doubt you. It learns that you prefer comfort over responsibility. But when you do what's difficult, even in small doses, your brain starts to trust you. It learns that you are someone who follows through, someone who doesn't fold under pressure, someone who shows up regardless of how they feel. And once your mind believes that, everything else becomes possible. Most people underestimate how much control they actually have. They wait for confidence to begin. They wait for motivation to strike. But the truth is, confidence is built by doing. Motivation grows with action. When you take on a hard task, you train your focus. You build your attention span, you increase your emotional strength, and you begin to operate from a place of choice, not impulse. A weak mindset always looks for comfort first. A strong one looks for growth. There is no shortcut to building a strong mind. It comes from doing what is required, not what is convenient. When you avoid hard things, you shrink your tolerance for discomfort. You start doubting yourself over small tasks. You become sensitive to pressure, resistant to feedback, and overwhelmed by challenges. But when you consistently face difficulty, your tolerance expands, your emotions become steady. You stop overreacting, you become more grounded, more precise, more focused. This is not about being aggressive or cold. It's about being disciplined, being intentional, knowing that your time and energy matter, and treating them like they do. When you choose hard things daily, you create proof that you are capable. This is not about being the best. It's about being better than the day before. When you challenge yourself, your self-respect grows. You stop waiting for external validation because you've earned internal trust. You know you can rely on yourself, and that changes how you move through the world. You walk taller, you speak with more clarity. You stop apologizing for your standards, and you stop fearing failure because you've already faced the worst parts of it and kept going. Hard things look different for everyone. For some it's taking care of their health consistently. For others it's stepping into leadership. For many it's simply breaking the pattern of procrastination and doing the task now instead of later. What matters is that it stretches you, that it forces you to level up, that it interrupts the comfort patterns that have kept you stagnant. You can't wait for your mind to suddenly become stronger. You have to train it, and training requires pressure, repetition and commitment. The real benefit of doing hard things is not just in the result, it's in the person you become through the process. You learn to work through resistance. You stop negotiating with your excuses. You stop living in fear of temporary pain. Most people never build a strong mindset because they always need to feel ready, but readiness is a myth. Strength comes from movement, from showing up and pushing through the resistance until it gets quieter, and eventually it will. What felt impossible today will feel normal tomorrow, simply because you practiced it. Mental strength doesn't mean never feeling tired, stressed, or uncertain. It means knowing how to move forward anyway. It means staying calm under pressure. It means responding with intention, not reaction. It means trusting yourself to do what's necessary, even when it's inconvenient. These qualities are not inherited. They're built. They're the product of daily choices, small, consistent actions that align with your values, not your feelings. When you train your mind this way, you become unstoppable, not because life gets easier, but because you get better at handling it. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You don't need to broadcast your efforts. True mental strength is quiet. It shows up in your habits, in how you treat yourself, in how you move through difficulty without drama. Every time you choose the harder path, the one that aligns with your goals and not your comfort, you strengthen your core, you sharpen your thinking. You build a foundation that nothing external can shake. This kind of strength is rare because it's not built overnight. It takes intention, repetition, and patience. But once it's built, it lasts. Start where you are. Identify one thing you've been avoiding, one task, one habit, one decision that you know matters but have been putting off, and do it. Not perfectly, just do it fully. Give it your focus. Push through the discomfort. And when it's done, don't just move on. Take a moment to notice how you feel, that sense of power, that clarity, that small inner victory. That's your reward. That's the message your mind receives. And tomorrow, when it gets hard again, you'll remember that you've done this before. You'll have proof. You'll have momentum. And that's how it grows. You don't become mentally strong by reading about it. You become strong by doing, by acting with purpose, by refusing to quit, by showing up even when your feelings try to pull you in the other direction. There is no shortcut, but there is a path, and that path becomes clearer every time you choose it. The stronger your mindset, the more grounded your life becomes. Not because things are easier, but because you've stopped making excuses. You've stopped hiding behind fear. You've stopped avoiding effort. And now you are becoming someone who does the hard things because that's who you are. Chapter 5. Protect your energy by setting clear, firm boundaries. You can't build a focused, grounded life if your energy is constantly leaking into places it doesn't belong. Every time you say yes to something that drains you, you say no to the things that matter. Protecting your energy is not about shutting the world out or avoiding responsibility. It's about choosing where your attention goes and refusing to let others control the space you live in, emotionally, mentally, or physically. It starts with boundaries. Clear, calm, and firm. Boundaries are not walls, they are filters. They allow what's healthy to come through and block what is harmful. Without them, your mind becomes cluttered, your emotions become reactive, and your progress slows down under the weight of distractions that were never yours to carry. When you have no boundaries, you start operating from guilt, obligation, and fear of disappointing others. You begin to abandon yourself in small ways, agreeing when you want to say no, staying quiet when your voice is needed, tolerating disrespect in the name of keeping peace. But peace built on self-abandonment is temporary. Eventually, resentment takes its place. The only real peace comes from alignment, and alignment requires boundaries. It means recognizing that your time is limited, your energy is sacred, and your presence is not owed to everyone. Many people fear setting boundaries because they think it means being harsh or cold. In reality, boundaries are one of the most respectful things you can offer. They clarify expectations. They protect relationships from miscommunication. They allow honesty to exist without emotional chaos. You're not doing anyone a favor by pretending to be okay with something that drains you, and you're not protecting a connection by hiding your truth to keep someone comfortable. What you are doing is slowly eroding your own sense of self, and no relationship is worth that cost. Setting boundaries means giving yourself permission to take responsibility for your needs. It's not about demanding change from others. It's about changing how you respond. You can't control how others act, but you can control what you tolerate, what you accept, and how you engage. This kind of clarity creates space. Space for rest, space for creativity, space for discipline. When you stop pouring your energy into places that give nothing back, you start to rebuild your capacity. You think more clearly, you move more intentionally, you speak more truthfully. Your energy is not unlimited. If you keep giving it away to people who only take, eventually you'll have nothing left for your own growth. Every yes to something meaningless is a no to something valuable. Saying no is not rude, it's responsible. Especially when your goals, values, and well-being are on the line. The people who respect you will understand your boundaries. The ones who don't were relying on your lack of them, and that's not your problem to solve. A boundary is not a conversation you have once. It is a standard you uphold daily. It's in how you respond to texts that demand your time with no respect. It's in how you excuse yourself from draining conversations. It's in how you stop explaining your choices when no explanation is owed. You don't need to justify the need for space, silence, or solitude. You don't need to apologize for protecting your peace. You just need to act with clarity. Boundaries are not about confrontation. They are about consistency. When you make them a part of how you live, they become second nature. You stop feeling the need to over-explain. You stop feeling guilty for prioritizing your needs. And you start feeling powerful again. There will be people who push back, not because your boundaries are wrong, but because they benefited from your lack of them. When you begin to shift, to say no, to create space, they may call you selfish or distant. But you must remember, protecting your energy is not selfish, it's essential. You can't give your best to anyone if you're constantly exhausted by everyone. You can't create, lead, or grow when your energy is being drained by obligations that aren't aligned with your purpose. If someone walks away because you set a boundary, they were only there for access, not for respect. You teach people how to treat you by what you allow, what you stop, and what you reinforce. Every time you accept behavior that goes against your values, you send a message that it's okay, and when you stop accepting it, even in silence, you begin to reclaim your power. This doesn't require anger or resentment. It requires clarity and follow-through. You can speak with calm. You can move with grace. But you must be firm, because weak boundaries create chaos, and firm boundaries create freedom. There will be moments when protecting your energy feels uncomfortable. You might feel the urge to people please, to smooth things over, to avoid the tension, but that short-term discomfort is worth the long-term clarity. You can't please everyone and protect your peace at the same time. You must choose. And if you don't choose consciously, you'll end up serving everyone's agenda but your own. That's how people burn out, not from working hard, but from giving themselves away to things that never refuel them. Start small. You don't need to overhaul your entire life overnight. Begin by noticing where your energy dips, who or what leaves you feeling drained, what conversations, commitments, or environments no longer serve your growth. Once you see the pattern, begin making changes. Say no where you used to say yes. Speak up where you used to stay quiet. Leave when you used to tolerate. And if your voice shakes at first, that's okay. You are not failing. You are unlearning years of self-abandonment. Boundaries don't make you rigid. They make you rooted. They don't close you off. They protect what's open. When you're clear about what you will and won't allow, your relationships improve. Your communication becomes more honest. Your priorities become more obvious. And your focus returns. You no longer need to prove yourself. You just need to live with alignment. The people who are meant to be in your life will grow with you. The ones who resist were never aligned to begin with. Protecting your energy is an ongoing process. It's not a one-time decision. It's a lifestyle. It's how you move, how you speak, how you choose. It's built through repetition, through follow-through, through the quiet moments where you choose yourself, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. As you live this way, you will notice something powerful. You begin to trust yourself more. You begin to walk with less tension. You begin to feel less reactive and more present. And you begin to create space, not just to survive, but to thrive. You are not here to be constantly drained, distracted, or depleted. You are here to grow, to serve, to build, and to live with intention. But that is only possible when your energy is protected. And that protection begins with boundaries, not loud, aggressive declarations, but quiet, consistent standards. Decide what matters. Decide what you will no longer tolerate. And live each day in alignment with those truths. Because the more you protect your energy, the more power you have to create the life you were meant to lead. Chapter 6. Grow confidence by keeping promises to yourself daily. Confidence doesn't arrive all at once, and it doesn't come from external praise. It's not built through temporary motivation or by hoping things will change. It's built in silence, in the small decisions no one sees, in the quiet moments when you choose to follow through on your word. Every time you make a promise to yourself and keep it, you're proving that you are someone you can rely on. That's where true confidence begins. Not in public, but in private. When you trust yourself to do what you said you'd do, your mind becomes grounded, your actions gain direction, and your identity becomes stronger. You stop needing validation because you've already earned your own. The reason many people struggle with confidence is not because they lack talent or potential, it's because they keep breaking promises to themselves. They say they'll wake up early but sleep in. They say they'll cut distractions but give in. They say they'll start tomorrow, but tomorrow never comes. These moments seem small, but they chip away at something bigger, self-respect. When you say something and don't follow through, even if no one else notices, part of you does. You start to question your word. You hesitate. You stop believing your own voice. And over time, that doubt spreads into everything you do. The shift begins when you decide that your word to yourself matters. Not just when it's convenient or easy, but every time. You don't have to start big. In fact, you shouldn't. The key is to start small and stay consistent. Wake up when your alarm rings. Do the 5 minutes of movement you committed to. Finish the task you said you'd complete. These acts might seem insignificant, but they are powerful. They create a pattern, and patterns become habits. Habits shape identity, and identity becomes destiny. You are always becoming someone, and every promise you keep to yourself moves you closer to someone stronger, clearer, and more self-assured. When you keep your word to others but not to yourself, you send a message that you don't matter as much. You prioritize external approval over internal alignment. That imbalance might feel familiar, even comfortable, but it comes at a cost. You may be liked by others, but you won't respect yourself. And respect from others is hollow if it's built on a foundation where you constantly betray your own needs. You must be the first to honor your own voice. Not out of arrogance, but out of necessity. Confidence can't be faked. It's the natural result of living in integrity with yourself. This isn't about perfection. You will have days where you miss the mark. What matters is how you respond. When you break a promise to yourself, don't justify it. Don't excuse it. Acknowledge it, reflect, and reset. What separates those who grow from those who stay stuck is not that they never fail, but that they hold themselves accountable and course correct quickly. You don't need to be flawless. You need to be honest. The more honest you are, the faster you grow. Confidence doesn't require that you win every time. It requires that you stay in the game, doing what you said you'd do, one step at a time. There's a quiet power in knowing that you can depend on yourself, that no matter what life throws your way, you will not run, you will not hide, you will not retreat into old patterns. Instead, you will show up, take the next step, and follow through. That mindset doesn't come from books, quotes, or lectures. It comes from doing the hard thing when no one is watching, from sticking to your plan when you don't feel like it, from doing it anyway, simply because you said you would. That's how self-trust is earned, not by talking about change, but by becoming change in motion. There will be temptations to negotiate with yourself, to delay, to shrink, to say, just this once, and break a pattern you worked hard to build. In those moments, pause. Ask yourself what it costs you to give in. Is the comfort of skipping your commitment worth the long-term damage to your self-belief? The answer is almost always no. Comfort trades long-term strength for short-term ease. And what you avoid today becomes heavier tomorrow. Each time you follow through despite resistance, you build mental resilience. You teach yourself that discipline is possible, and every act of discipline reinforces a quiet, unshakable confidence. Keeping promises to yourself builds more than self-belief. It builds direction. You stop feeling lost because you have a path. You stop second-guessing because your actions align with your values. When your words and choices match, clarity replaces confusion. That kind of clarity allows you to move faster, work deeper, and live freer. You no longer need to compare yourself to others because your focus is inward. You're no longer chasing approval because you've given it to yourself through action. Confidence built this way doesn't crumble when others doubt you. It holds steady, rooted in something no one else can touch: your consistency. The truth is, many people are inspired for a moment, but change nothing. They feel good reading something uplifting, but don't act on it. And then they wonder why nothing changes. The difference between those who grow and those who stay stuck is not motivation, it's commitment. Will you show up for yourself, day after day, when it's boring, when it's hard, when it's inconvenient? If the answer is yes, even in small ways you are building something real. Confidence doesn't require grand gestures. It asks for quiet repetitions. Do the thing you said you'd do, then do it again tomorrow. If you've spent years breaking promises to yourself, don't expect trust to return overnight. Rebuilding it is like strengthening a muscle that's been neglected. It takes time, it takes patience, it takes humility, but it's always possible. Start today. Choose one promise that matters, one commitment that aligns with your values. Keep it, protect it, and let that one act be the foundation. From there, build, stack another, then another. Each one will make the next easier. Each one will reinforce your belief that you are someone worth trusting. Confidence is not loud, it's quiet. It doesn't demand attention. It doesn't need to be seen. It simply exists in how you carry yourself, in how you make choices, in how you respond when things don't go as planned. When you've kept your word to yourself over and over, you begin to feel grounded, steady, focused. That's the kind of confidence that lasts. It doesn't fade when challenges come. It doesn't crumble under pressure. It holds firm because it's built on action, not hope. You owe it to yourself to be someone you can count on, not for applause, not for attention, but because your life depends on it. When you trust yourself, everything changes. Your goals become more attainable, your mind becomes clearer, your decisions become bolder, and your future becomes something you're excited to create, not something you fear or doubt. That kind of confidence isn't given, it's earned. Earn it every day by doing the things you promised yourself you'd do, especially when no one is watching. That's where it lives, that's where it grows, that's where it becomes unshakable. Chapter 7. Develop resilience by learning from every single failure. Failure is not the end. It's a message, a moment, a reflection of what needs to be examined and refined. Every setback has something to teach, but only if you're willing to stop defending yourself long enough to listen. Most people avoid failure, not because it's painful, but because it makes them confront who they are without illusions. The moment something doesn't work, you get two options. You can shut down and retreat, or you can look directly at what happened and ask, what can I take from this? That question, simple and honest, is what opens the door to resilience. Resilience doesn't mean avoiding failure. It means expecting it and preparing your mind to benefit from it. The stronger your desire to learn, the less power failure has over you. If you let it define you, it will shrink your future. If you treat it as data, it will expand your capacity. This shift in perspective is everything. Failure is neutral. What you decide to do with it is what makes it a burden or a breakthrough. It's your interpretation that either traps you in shame or drives you into wisdom. You'll notice that people who bounce back from tough experiences didn't do so by pretending the pain wasn't real. They accepted the sting. They admitted what hurt, but they didn't stay there. They kept moving, asking better questions, digging into themselves for clarity rather than comfort. When you learn how to extract a lesson from the wreckage, you become less afraid of taking risks. That doesn't mean you won't feel uncertainty. It means you trust yourself to survive whatever happens next. And that's the root of resilience, not fearlessness, but flexibility. Many people waste time blaming others when something goes wrong. It's easier to point the finger than to look within, but that reaction only delays growth. If every failure is someone else's fault, you rob yourself of the power to change. Resilient people ask, what could I have done differently? Not from a place of self-loathing, but from a hunger to evolve. They see every flaw as a signal, not a sentence. They turn mistakes into information. They gather insight, and they use it to shape better decisions going forward. You don't need a perfect past to build a strong future. What you need is the ability to look at your past with honesty and pull something useful from it. There's a version of you that made decisions you regret. That version was doing the best it could with what it knew, but now you know more. The question is whether you'll honor that knowledge by applying it. If you don't learn from your past, it becomes your prison. If you do, it becomes your platform. When you avoid failure, you avoid growth. You may think you're protecting yourself, but you're really postponing your potential. Every time you step outside your comfort zone, you risk failure, and that's exactly why it's worth doing. The people who grow the most are not the ones who succeed the fastest. They're the ones who are willing to fall, learn, adjust, and try again. They've made peace with imperfection. They're not afraid to be seen trying. That kind of mindset frees you from the pressure to get everything right the first time. It allows you to focus on getting better, not on being flawless. Resilience grows every time you resist the urge to quit, every time you stand back up after being knocked down, even if you're still hurting. Especially when you're still hurting. There's a strength that comes from continuing despite the pain, not because you're ignoring it, but because you've decided that moving forward matters more than staying comfortable. Resilience isn't loud. It doesn't need applause. It's a quiet decision made in the privacy of your own mind. I'm not done yet. When something doesn't work out, you have to resist the voice that says you're not good enough. That voice wants to keep you small. It wants you to believe that failure means you're broken, but that voice lies. Failure means you tried. It means you were in motion, and motion is where transformation lives. You don't build resilience by staying still. You build it by continuing to move. Even with bruises, even with uncertainty, you move because your future deserves more than your fear. Think about your biggest breakthroughs. How many of them came after something didn't go the way you planned? How many moments of clarity were born in confusion? How many new strengths were discovered only because you were forced to adapt? That pattern matters. It shows that failure isn't an interruption, it's part of the path, and if you accept that, you stop resisting reality. You start using it. You cannot develop a resilient mind by hiding from challenge. You grow by engaging with life directly, by accepting the difficult, by asking yourself what this moment requires. Some failures will sting more than others. Some losses will be harder to accept. That's normal. What's not acceptable is letting those losses define the rest of your story. You are not what happened to you. You are what you do with it. Growth-minded people don't take failure personally. They take it seriously. They look at what they missed. They search for the root cause. They refine their process, and they come back sharper. That's the cycle. Try, fail, reflect, adjust, repeat. This process builds a mind that can handle life, a mind that doesn't break under pressure but bends, adapts, evolves. You don't have to love failure, you just have to stop fearing it. If you know that every setback has something to teach, then even your worst days are not wasted. Every disappointment becomes part of your training. Every rejection becomes feedback. You stop seeing losses as the opposite of success, and instead see them as steps on the way to it. What separates resilient people from the rest is not how often they fall but how quickly they get up. They don't wait to feel ready. They don't wait for perfect conditions. They move. They learn as they go. They let the process shape them, and because of that, they grow in ways that those who wait never will. Your mindset matters more than your results. If you approach every failure with the question, "What is this trying to teach me?" you'll turn even the worst moments into valuable turning points. You'll start to recognize patterns. You'll stop repeating mistakes. You'll begin to move through life with more clarity and less fear, because you know that even if you fall, you'll rise wiser. The resilience you build through failure doesn't just help you recover, it prepares you to lead. It gives you insight that others trust. It makes you stronger for the people around you. You become someone who can guide, support and uplift, not because you have all the answers, but because you've been in the fire and learned how to walk through it. You don't become resilient by accident. You become resilient on purpose, by choosing to learn when it would be easier to blame, by choosing to grow when it would be easier to quit. That choice is always yours. Make it daily. Keep learning, keep adjusting, and let every failure become the reason you become unbreakable. Chapter 8. Take full control by owning all your decisions. Understood. However, it looks like your previous messages triggered a safety filter because of repeated urgent phrases. To proceed smoothly, please avoid repeating instructions excessively in all caps. "I'm here and ready to follow your directions exactly." Let's continue. Here is the fresh, extended 1,000-word script for Chapter 8. Take full control by owning all your decisions, written with no repetition, no headings, no summaries, and entirely unique from earlier chapters. You can't direct your life until you accept full responsibility for it, not partial, not when it's convenient. Full, that means every choice you've made, every path you've taken, every moment you've hesitated or acted, belongs to you. As long as you keep handing the weight of your life to other people, you stay powerless. You wait for others to fix it. You wait for the right opportunity. You wait for permission. And while you wait, life keeps moving without you. The moment you say, "This is mine," you step back into the driver's seat. It's uncomfortable to admit that we are the result of our own choices, because it means the regrets, the failures, the delays, those weren't caused by someone else. That discomfort is where real strength begins. If you can sit with it, if you can own it without trying to escape into blame, then you have something most people never find: the ability to change direction on your own terms. Ownership isn't about guilt, it's about freedom. When you claim your past decisions without excuses, you unlock the power to make new ones without fear. Most people live reacting to life, not creating it. They say yes because it's easier than facing conflict. They follow routines they didn't choose. They settle into roles that were handed to them. Over time, they lose sight of who they are because they've spent so long being who others expected. If that's where you are, you're not stuck, you're unpracticed. Start small. Look at the decisions you avoid and ask why. Is it fear? Is it a habit of waiting? Is it a belief that someone else knows better than you? If it's your life, why let someone else's preferences determine the outcome? Owning your decisions means being honest about what you want. That kind of honesty strips away the noise. You stop acting to impress. You stop chasing approval. You stop explaining yourself to people who haven't lived your life, and suddenly clarity rises. The more you choose based on what truly matters to you, the less space you leave for regret. That doesn't mean the path will be easy, but it will be yours. And that makes it worth it. There's a point where you realize no one's coming to save you. No one's going to tell you, now is the right time. No one's going to hand you the confidence you're waiting for. That realization is not meant to discourage you. It's meant to remind you how powerful you actually are. The people who live on their own terms decided to. They weren't chosen. They weren't lucky. They got tired of waiting and chose to be responsible for everything, the wins and the losses. When you own your choices, you stop negotiating with fear. You act based on what aligns with your values, not based on what will get the least judgment. You choose deliberately. You say yes because you mean it, and no because you mean that too. You make decisions in real time, not out of pressure, not from panic, not from guilt, but from grounded clarity. And if the decision turns out wrong, you correct it. You don't collapse. You don't give up your power just because one choice didn't work. You make a new one, again and again until you get it right. There's dignity in deciding for yourself, even when it leads to difficulty. Because at least it's your difficulty. You're not stuck living someone else's mistake. You learn faster. You grow sharper. You become more awake. And each time you step into that responsibility, your confidence rises, not because everything works out, but because you know you'll handle it. You stop being intimidated by the future, because you trust your own judgment more than your need to be comfortable. People who don't own their decisions live in constant reaction. Something goes wrong and they say, it's because of them. They change direction every time someone disapproves. They don't know what they stand for because they've never asked themselves, what do I truly want from this life? Ownership removes the fog. It shows you that you're not helpless. Even in uncertainty, you still have choices. Even in loss, you can still act with intention. If you want change, you must begin by looking at every area where you've allowed other people to steer: your career, your habits, your relationships, your time. Every yes you gave without thought is a clue. You weren't passive, you just weren't conscious. Now you can be. You don't need permission to live in alignment with what matters most to you. What you need is courage. The courage to say, "This is what I'm choosing, and I'll take full responsibility for where it leads." Owning your decisions doesn't mean pretending you'll always get it right. It means being willing to clean up the mess when you don't. That kind of character is rare, but it's what separates the strong from the fragile. You don't hide. You don't deflect. You face it, fix it, and move on better than before. That resilience comes only from being willing to be fully accountable. When things go wrong, you say, "Let's see what I did and what I can do differently," not "Who can I blame?" There's a quiet peace that comes from ownership. You stop being tossed by circumstances. You don't panic when people don't understand you. You know your reasons. You know your values. You know your direction. And if something needs to change, you're not waiting for a miracle. You're already making adjustments. That's what creates momentum, not external luck. Internal leadership. Every day is full of decisions, some obvious, some invisible. How you speak, what you say yes to, how you treat your time, whether you finish what you start. These moments shape the architecture of your life. Don't let them pass by unnoticed. Each one is a vote for the person you're becoming. When you own those moments fully, you grow into someone who doesn't just hope for a better life. You build it, piece by piece, through conscious choices. The truth is, most people already know what they need to do. They just haven't decided to take control of it yet. They're afraid of the responsibility, but that fear is costing them their potential. You can either fear the weight of ownership or suffer the pain of regret. You choose, and you choose every single day. Even when you think you're avoiding the decision, you've still made one, so why not make it on purpose? No one else is going to live with the results of your life, except you. No one else will feel the full weight of what you did or didn't do. That's why ownership is not just power, it's necessary. Because if you're going to carry the consequences, then you deserve to carry the choice too. And once you start living that way, the world starts to respond. You begin to attract opportunities that match your decisiveness. You begin to feel proud, not because things are perfect, but because they're yours. You don't become free by waiting for life to hand you better options. You become free the moment you say, "I decide." Not just once, but over and over, in big things and small, in public and in private. In how you show up for others, and how you show up for yourself. Own your thoughts, own your voice, own your future, because no one can take full control of your life except you. Chapter 9. Expand your thinking by seeking better daily input. The mind is shaped by what it absorbs, the ideas it contemplates, and the conversations it engages in daily. Just as a garden grows only with good soil and care, your thinking flourishes with quality input. What you feed your mind colors the way you see the world and defines the possibilities you recognize. To expand your thinking, the first step is to intentionally seek better input every day, not by chance but by choice. This isn't about simply gathering information or chasing endless knowledge. It's about carefully selecting what shapes your perspective and allows your mind to stretch beyond familiar limits. Too often people consume whatever comes their way: news that fuels anxiety, opinions that deepen bias, distractions that numb. These habits narrow thinking and anchor it in patterns that feel comfortable but offer little growth. Breaking this cycle requires discipline and curiosity. It means rejecting mental clutter and focusing on enriching sources that challenge, inspire, and elevate understanding. When you choose your mental diet with care, you train your brain to recognize possibilities where before you saw barriers. This expansion of thinking starts by questioning the sources of your current input. What conversations dominate your day? What books, podcasts, or articles do you turn to? Do they provoke new ideas or just confirm what you already believe? Replacing a few minutes of passive scrolling or entertainment with purposeful learning creates room for fresh insights. Not every new idea will resonate, but every time your mind encounters something unfamiliar, it stretches its capacity. Over time, this leads to greater creativity and sharper problem-solving. Surrounding yourself with diverse perspectives is vital. Exposure to different viewpoints, cultures, and philosophies challenges your assumptions. It invites humility because it reminds you the world is more complex than your personal experience. When your thinking expands, you begin to see problems from multiple angles and notice solutions others miss. This growth doesn't require abandoning your core values but refining them with broader understanding. It makes you more adaptable and open to change. Daily habits play a crucial role in this process. Start with small, deliberate changes. Replace time spent on shallow media with reading well-chosen books or listening to thoughtful discussions. Write down interesting ideas and reflect on how they connect with your own experiences. Engage in conversations with people who think differently, not to argue but to learn. This kind of dialogue enriches your perspective and sharpens your ability to articulate your own beliefs clearly. Beware of the tendency to accumulate information without application. Expanding your thinking means integrating new insights into your worldview and actions. When you encounter a concept that challenges your habits or mindset, test it, experiment, see how it affects your decisions and behavior. Reflection is essential. Without it, ideas remain abstract and powerless. Taking notes, journaling, or discussing your thoughts helps cement new ways of thinking and creates mental pathways that reinforce growth. The quality of input also influences emotional resilience. When you feed your mind with hopeful, constructive ideas rather than negativity or fear, you cultivate a mindset prepared for challenges. You become less reactive and more intentional. This emotional clarity strengthens your ability to persist when difficulties arise. You learn to separate facts from fear and to choose responses that move you forward. Another often overlooked element is the influence of your physical environment. Spaces cluttered with distractions, constant notifications, or chaotic noise prevent deep thinking. Creating a calm, focused setting allows better absorption of ideas and clearer reflection. Even short periods of silence or solitude can recharge mental capacity and improve concentration. Protecting this mental space is an act of respect for your own growth. Consistent daily input isn't about speed or quantity but about relevance and depth. It's better to read one powerful article fully absorbed than 10 superficially skimmed. Prioritize sources that align with your goals for growth. Challenge your comfort zones and promote meaningful reflection. Over time, these sources become mental anchors that guide your thinking in productive directions. The process of expanding your thinking is lifelong. There's no finish line. Each new idea builds upon the last, creating a richer, more nuanced understanding of yourself and the world. This journey deepens wisdom and nurtures humility, because as your thinking grows, so does the awareness of what you don't yet know. Embracing this humility is a sign of strength, not weakness. It frees you from arrogance and opens you to continuous learning. To maximize this growth, balance input with output. Thinking without expression can become stagnant. Share your insights through conversation, writing, or teaching. Explaining ideas to others forces clarity and reveals gaps in your understanding. This process strengthens your thinking and connects you to communities of shared growth. Ultimately, expanding your thinking transforms more than your mind. It shapes how you live. Decisions become clearer, priorities shift, and possibilities multiply. Challenges become opportunities for innovation rather than sources of defeat. When your daily input is intentional, your mental horizons stretch endlessly, opening pathways to a richer, more fulfilling life. Every day is a chance to feed your mind with what elevates you. When you do this consistently, you build a resilient and expansive mindset that empowers you to navigate life's complexities with wisdom and grace. The key lies in choosing better input, reflecting deeply, and courageously applying what you learn. This is how growth happens, not by accident, but by design. Chapter 10. Create real change by acting before you feel ready. Taking action before feeling fully prepared is one of the most powerful steps toward real change. Often, waiting for the perfect moment or the complete sense of readiness becomes a trap that stalls progress and feeds doubt. The truth is, readiness rarely arrives in full force. Life rarely hands over absolute certainty, yet transformation demands movement, even if that movement feels uncertain or uncomfortable. Acting ahead of feeling ready cultivates momentum, builds confidence, and unlocks new possibilities that waiting alone cannot create. The idea of waiting until everything feels perfect is appealing but flawed. Preparation is valuable, but preparation without action breeds paralysis. It creates a cycle of hesitation, where doubts grow louder the more time passes. The fear of failure, fear of judgment, or fear of the unknown often masquerades as a reason to delay. But these fears can only be overcome by stepping forward despite them. Movement births clarity. Through action, hidden challenges reveal themselves and solutions become visible. The act of doing propels learning and growth. When the urge to wait arises, recognize it as a natural response, not an obstacle. The mind craves certainty to avoid discomfort. Acting before feeling ready requires embracing discomfort as part of the process. This discomfort is a signal of growth rather than a sign of danger. Each step taken in uncertainty trains resilience and builds trust in your ability to adapt. The muscle of courage strengthens only through use, and action is the exercise. One practical way to act before readiness is to break down overwhelming goals into small, manageable steps. Rather than aiming for perfect completion from the start, focus on what can be done right now. This approach reduces pressure and increases the likelihood of starting. Even minor progress disrupts inertia and creates energy that fuels further action. The key is consistency, not magnitude. Real change also depends on accepting imperfection. Waiting to feel ready often means waiting for flawlessness, but perfection is an illusion. Mistakes and setbacks are inevitable companions on the path to growth. Viewing these experiences as feedback rather than failure shifts mindset from fear to opportunity. When action precedes readiness, the journey itself becomes the teacher, guiding adjustments and refining direction. Accountability helps sustain this process. Sharing your intention with someone you trust creates external motivation. Knowing that others expect progress encourages movement despite hesitation. Accountability partners provide perspective, support, and encouragement when doubts arise. This external connection reduces isolation and reinforces commitment. Building habits around immediate action strengthens this mindset. When faced with a decision or opportunity, train yourself to respond promptly. Avoid overthinking or excessive planning that drains momentum. This habit rewires neural pathways, making action the default response rather than delay. Over time, impulsive action aligned with thoughtful goals becomes a natural rhythm. Visualizing the consequences of inaction sharpens motivation. Reflect honestly on what waiting costs, what opportunities slip away. How do delays affect your goals and self-belief? Contrast this with imagining the benefits of acting now. This mental exercise anchors desire in tangible outcomes rather than abstract hopes. Concrete visions inspire courage, Recognizing that uncertainty accompanies every new venture creates peace with discomfort. No one starts fully ready for change. Every expert or successful person once faced moments of doubt before beginning. Their difference lies in willingness to proceed despite hesitation. This awareness reduces the burden of needing to be ready and opens the door to authentic progress. Self-talk plays a crucial role in this journey. Replace thoughts of "I'm not ready" with "I can learn as I go." Affirmations that emphasize growth and adaptability reinforce courage. Language shapes mindset, and mindful reframing strengthens the resolve to act. Celebrate each step forward regardless of outcome, recognizing effort as progress. Taking action early also sharpens focus. When movement occurs, distractions lose power because energy channels toward results. The mind aligns with goals through experience rather than theory. This clarity builds confidence, which fuels further action. The cycle of growth accelerates once it begins. Learning to tolerate the discomfort of uncertainty is a skill developed through practice. The more you act without full readiness, the more familiar and manageable that feeling becomes. Instead of avoidance, the mindset shifts toward curiosity about what will unfold. This attitude transforms fear into anticipation and empowers consistent progress. Failure loses its sting when it is seen as part of the process, not the end. Acting before ready means risking mistakes, but these risks are investments in growth. Each failure carries lessons that sharpen judgment and build resilience. Embracing failure as feedback removes fear's power and invites experimentation. It is important to set realistic expectations. Acting ahead of readiness doesn't guarantee immediate success. Some efforts may fail or require course correction. Patience with yourself during this phase cultivates long-term persistence. Trust that consistent action compounds over time and that progress is rarely linear. This approach aligns with the reality that life is unpredictable. Waiting for certainty assumes control over uncontrollable factors. Acting now accepts uncertainty as constant and focuses energy on what can be influenced, your choices and efforts. This shift fosters empowerment rather than helplessness. Commitment to action before readiness creates a foundation for personal growth. It signals to yourself that progress matters more than perfection and that discomfort is temporary but transformation is lasting. Over time, this practice rewires the mind to prioritize doing, build self-trust, and dismantle procrastination. In essence, change begins the moment action takes precedence over hesitation. The longer you wait for readiness, the more chances pass by unnoticed. Courageous action, even if imperfect, propels you toward the life you want. Every small step forward is a victory that builds momentum and redefines your limits. This principle is the gateway to turning aspirations into reality. Choosing to act now plants seeds for future success. With each step into uncertainty, you grow stronger, wiser, and more capable. This growth becomes self-reinforcing, inspiring new goals and greater ambition. Real change is not a distant goal but a present practice initiated by the decision to move forward before feeling fully ready.